I had the perfect interview, not perfect string of interviews, and I somehow still didn't get the job. And being through the process like many times, like applying for jobs, not getting that shit, I got kind of numb to it. But this time, like, actually gave me hope. All right, let's take it back. So, a few months ago, I actually was still looking for a job, and I just got in the Navy, and I got my paperwork, got out, came home, started looking for jobs, and then, boom, I came across this place that was hiring people to transport cars for a rental company at my local airport. And I applied. Actually, I saw a number and I called it and like got an interview the next day. Go to the interview, knock out the park, and due to like a scheduling issue, it was kind of wonky if I was going to get it or not. I actually ended up going to the wrong floor and I had to walk up to it. After my interview for the car transporting company for the rental cars in the airport, man, somehow I just be ended up like at the right place, the right time, because I came across a person who just decided to give me a ride to the floor that I parked my car in. I had a really good conversation with him. I was just telling him about my life, how I just got out of the Navy, went to college, talked about our experiences, how he started at the rental car company. And he was actually the repair supervisor. So his job was basically just to make sure that all of the cars got repaired and everything was just like squared away and just organized with all the cars being repaired and maintained. So I told him the position I'm applying for, and he was like, yo, it's pretty cool. But he just gave me advice of like never selling myself short. And it was a really good conversation. And he encouraged me, let me know about the rental car company that he's working for. It's called their management training program. And he's like, yo, why didn't you just apply? And I was like, man, I never knew about it, but I'm interested. So I looked it up, took his card, and I remember back in high school, ninth grade, I got advice from my ninth grade English teacher. He said this a few times. If you guys don't learn anything in my class, listen to this. This advice will actually help you in life. So me, I'm like 15. I put my ears. I'm like, all right, I'm listening. He said, if someone gives you an opportunity and gives you their card and tells you to apply or do this or give them a call, don't wait. Do it as quickly as possible so they can remember you and then so they know that you're serious. So years later, I took the advice, looked up his card, looked up who he was, saw that it was legit. I applied, and I even researched the company. He told me to use him as a reference. So for me, right, I got the advice to tailor your resume using AI engine. We all do it. So I got the interview with the recruiter, and something was just like, you know what, I'm gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna contact the recruiter saying, hey, this is who I am, this is where I applied. So I did that, and surprisingly, the recruiter got back to me in 2 hours. She got back to me, scheduled an interview for the following week. The following week comes, actually not, bring it back a little bit. Before the interview, I was like, okay, I have a reference for a repair supervisor, and I don't want to make him look crazy. And I really wanted this job. It was a good opportunity. And boom. So I do my research on the company. She even provides me packets of what to research and what they're about. So I do the research. I even use ChatGPT to get potential interview questions that I will most likely get during this interview process. Studied, prepared for it, had my suit ironed and everything. It was crisp. So boom, following week, I had the first interview with the recruiter. It was a great conversation again. It was a bit early in the mornings over Zoom. It was online. A couple weeks later, I contact the vehicle supervisor. Talking about the interview, he says, yo, I heard it went great. The next person you're going to interview is the area manager. And they're probably going to send you out to just 30 minutes from me. It's out of state. So I was like, all right, I'm ready. Got the interview. I was picked and scheduled an interview for the area manager. Do my studying, look him up. And I'm like, all right, this is legit. We're cool. And boom. I'm like, damn, I got to drive 30 minutes. But then I'm like, bro, you really need this job. So you just got to go for it, bro. So I'm like, all right, I prepare for the interview, do research, and I'm just ready to answer questions and tell my story, be prepared to answer the questions. We're all good. So I go to the interview with the area manager. This was my most perfect interview. I went there, got to tour the branch of the rental company, and everyone was cool. Everyone actually messed with me. I did learn some things like about how the like process goes for the company and what they measure in their like sales figures and all that. And during my interview with the area manager, it was just like a regular conversation for the most part. We just talked about our lives, like how long he's been working with the company, what the company has provided him, and what it's like done for him and his family's life. And then the middle of the interview, he just tells me like, "Hey man, like you're a good candidate so far." And towards the end of the interview, he was actually impressed because I was prepared. I came dressed in a suit and a tie, and he said a lot of people don't do that no more. I actually heard that a lot about like interviewers. Like whenever I wear a tie, they're like low-key impressed or like, "Oh wow, people don't do that a lot no more." And I was like, "Well, this is just how I dress for interviews." But yeah, boom. So I was just like, okay, it's going well. He's giving me like good feedback. But towards the end, he only gave me one like critique. He was like, "Yo, you done everything right. You even answered every question." He's like, "Man, I'm sure you probably like heard it before, like the STAR method." And I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I heard about it." Yeah. It's like I didn't chat GBT and review the company and practice like a couple times a day for this interview to go very well. And they also just like provided like materials to study, so it just made it a lot easier. So boom. All right. Towards the end, his one critique was, "All right, if you just make a little more eye contact than with our area manager and do the exact same thing for this interview, you're gonna do very well." So I was like, all right, so do the same thing. Go to the regional manager at the corporate office in my city, which was a hell of a lot closer. So boom, I get there. I'd say like a week later, I'm ready, prepared, got my suit dry clean, got my hair cut, everything just, we good. So I get there about half an hour early because I don't know what was gonna happen. So I get there, I follow the instructions, I park, and I'm in the corporate office. I'm in the waiting room, and I hear that the region manager was in his like morning meeting or something like that. So I'm waiting for him, and I just come across like people that work for the corporate side of the company, and it was cool. It was cool, nice office, and eventually the meeting ends. He comes, shakes my hand, and this is where like my natural people skills come in. So I'm just looking around his office, asking him, "Hey, where is he from?" Found he's from Buffalo. He raises kids in New England the area like I live in. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm looking around. I'm like, he's a Buffalo Bills fan. He's married, has a family. And I'm like, all right, Ben. Okay, I can use that in the interview. So we're talking in the interview. He's talking about my background, where I'm from, and he's looking at my resume. And he's like, "Yo, this is a pretty packed resume for a short period of time." He's like, "Yo, how did you balance college and working multiple jobs?" And I just told him how I did it and the reasons for it. Pretty much, it was do or die for me. Like I had no choice. So it was like, you either work these jobs or go into school full time and figure it out, or you just don't. And from what he told me, he said he was like pretty impressed with it. So I'm like, all right, that's a pretty good sign. And towards the interview, we're just talking again about life. It became like a regular conversation. And he talked about where he started in the company. And one thing with like I noticed with interviews is like they like to talk about themselves, but they want to make it seem like, all right, do you guys care about this company? Do you guys like actually like care, or at least can pretend to care? So like you got to come up with questions. Yeah, you naturally have questions for interview, but they're like, bro, why do you want this job? If I was really being honest, man, bro, give me a job, bro. Rent's due on the 1st. Insurance due on the 1st. That's why I need this job. I need this job because I'm not trying to be broke. I'm trying to eat. But of course we can't say that. We got to just have like the interview voice on shit. And continuing the interview, again, regular conversation. So I'm like asking him about his family and how he balanced like being a regional manager for this company and balancing a family and being married. Talked about it. And he was like, yo, if you ever have a family, this advice I'll give, cool. You know, just making a person like feel like just talk about them. People just love talking about themselves. Like, tip, if you can get someone to talk about themselves like in an interview while you're interviewing, it'll make not only make them more comfortable, but it'll make the interview a little more memorable. That's something I picked up when just talking to people. So yeah, we're talking about it, and then I just said, he just actually was like, yo, so you're a pretty big guy. Like, do you play football? And I was like, yeah. I don't never really played football like that. I did like track and field and played soccer in high school. That was pretty much sports I did. I told him I was like, yo, so yeah, my favorite football team is like the Patriots. My favorite player is like Rob Gronkowski. And he was like, wait, bro, I actually grew up like with his family members. Like I'm from Buffalo. And I was like, oh really? Me pretending not to look at the big ass freaking Buffalo Bills sign, the picture with his family. Cause I was like, yeah, you're a fan. So I brought it up and like his whole face lit up. So he started talking about the Bills, started talking about how he grew up in Buffalo. And I was like, wow, that's like small world. And that was actually the best part of the interview, because hearing this man talk about football in his corporate office was pretty cool. And so yeah, we just talked about how the Patriots are doing, how the Buffalo Bills are doing, kind of. And boom. So towards this part of the end of the interview, I noticed that time was like running out, and I was like, all right, I don't want to talk this man's ear off or like take too much time. So I was like, yeah, so that's all the questions I have. Is there anything you have for me? And he just told me, he was like, all right, everything went well, and it is gonna take a little bit of time, so you'll know by the interview on a Friday. And he said, all right, you're gonna know by Friday of like the following week for our decision. And I was like, okay, that's good. So I get my parking validated, go to my car, and I call my contact and text him. And I was like, he was like, yo, like this is a few days later. He's like, man, I heard like you really like knocked out the regional manager interview, the area manager interview, and like, yo, this is looking very good. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for giving that advice, like not selling myself short. And on Friday morning, I got the typical, oh, hey man, unfortunately, we're not able to process you, and thank you, and we wish you best on your future endeavors. And I'm like, damn. I was like, what, bro? That was the perfect interviews I've ever had. Like, I answered every question damn near perfectly, came in like suited and booted, haircut, looked spiffy, and like, I was like, wow, I did everything right, and I still didn't get the job. And like, I told my contact, and he was just like, what the hell? They're saying really good things about you. And he was like, man, I'm gonna like contact someone and see if I can get some feedback. And I didn't hear from him ever again. But then I had to realize, I'm like, yo, he wasn't necessarily the HR person or the person that made the final decision. He was a person who just helped me get my like foot in the door. And sometimes like even having a contact within a company doesn't guarantee a job in a lot of cases. But it did help me get a lot further. And like help me like know about the job, because this job, you're not going to find a job board or it's going to be advertised like on Indeed or not even LinkedIn. LinkedIn is another horror story, but fuck it, it's another time. But yeah, also I wanted to take the time to introduce another series I have planned out. It's called Interviews from Hell. This series is where I just talk about my worst interviews, what I learned from it, how I got the job, how I applied, and how I either bombed the interview or did so well that it turned them off for some reason, and how I just bounced back from it. That's pretty much it. Yeah, if you want to talk about my last video, or just watch it, it's called The Greatest Trick That Gen Z... No, The Greatest Trick That Was Played on Gen Z. I'm doing this live and I'm freestyling, so if I'm like rambling, cool, it's all good. All right. If you want to watch that video about how Gen Z was tricked, it's going to be somewhere in the video. I'll link it somewhere, probably in the description, somewhere on there. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for now. I'm Brandon from Montigo. Let's talk. Have a nice day on purpose.